Hey everyone, in today's video we're going to be going over even and odd functions. So what do you think of when you first say even or odd? Well, normally we're going to think of numbers. So even numbers go in the form of 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, and so on. These are even numbers. And odd numbers are like 1, 3, 5, 7, 9, and so on. But what about even or odd functions? Even and odd functions are a bit different. So even and odd functions are essentially what happens to the function when you plug in alternate versions of the same number. Now that sounds a bit confusing, but I'm going to break it down for you. Let's say we have the function f of x equals x squared. Pretty simple, right? Let's plug in a positive number and then the negative version of that same number. So let's do positive 2. When we plug in positive 2, you get 2 squared, which is equal to 4, positive 4. Now let's plug in f of negative 2. If we plug in negative 2, it's going to be negative 2 the whole squared, which is also equal to positive 4. Why? Because negative 2 times negative 2 is equal to positive 4. The negatives cancel out. So as you can tell, your final answer for both of these are the exact same. 4 is equal to 4. So that means that this function is even. Why? Because when you plug in a positive and negative version of the same number, you result in the same exact answer, positive 4. Now let's say we have the function f of x equals x cubed. Let's do the same thing. So let's plug in positive and negative 3. So f of 3 is equal to 3 cubed, which is equal to 27. And f of negative 3 is equal to negative 3 cubed, which is equal to negative 27. Why? Because negative 3 times negative 3 times negative 3 is equal to negative 27. These two negatives cancel out, so you have a negative here, and then you just multiply three times to get 27, so it's negative 27. Now, as you can see, you have a positive 27 and you have a negative 27. So they're still the same number, but one is positive and one is negative, so they're different. So this function is odd, because you got the same numerical value, but the sign of both of them are different. So now let's do our last case when it comes to even or odd functions. So let's do f of x equals x cubed plus 1. Let's plug in positive 5. So if we plug in positive 5 for x, we're going to substitute 5, so 5 cubed plus 1. This is equal to 125 plus 1, which is equal to 126. Now let's do f of negative 5. So we're going to get negative 5 cubed plus 1. This is negative 125 plus 1, and you'll get negative 124. Now, as you can see, our first answer was 126, and our second answer is negative 124. But these numbers are completely different. Even in this case, our numbers were at least positive and negative, but in this case, they're completely different. So this function is neither even or odd. So it's not even and it's also not odd. So those are the three cases we have when it comes to even or odd functions. And a function will always be even, odd, or neither. It's always going to be one of these three cases. Now let's work on some examples and try to deduce whether a function is even or odd. Okay, so now we are going to deduce whether a function is even or odd. So let's do number 1, y equals x plus 3. So to help deduce whether it's even or odd, your first step will have to be substitute a negative and positive version of any number. So we're going to substitute a positive and negative 2 in this case. So we're going to do negative 2, so negative 2 plus 3, we're just substituting it for x. In this case, it's just 3 minus 2, which is equal to positive 1. Now let's substitute positive 2. So we'll get positive 2 plus 3. This is equal to 5. In this case, 1 and 5 are completely different. They are not equal to each other, and they are not the same number that are positive and negative. So in this case, this entire function is neither even or odd, so you can just write neither. Now let's try the next example. Another way to do this question is to substitute x. So we're going to substitute x, positive and negative. So we're going to substitute x and negative x in the question. So you don't need to do a simple number. You can also just substitute x. So if we just do f of x, we're going to result in the same thing we already have, just 2x minus 1. But if we do f of negative x, we're going to replace the x with a negative x. So 2 times negative x minus 1. So our final answer will be negative 2x minus 1. Does this entire function match our original function? No. But there is a bit more simplifying that we can do. another thing that you should try to do before you finalize that it's not even is take out the negative. If you take out the negative, you'll get 2x plus 1, because now if you expand, you'll get negative 2x minus 1, which is what you had originally. So if we take out the negative, we're going to get negative of 2x plus 1. Now if you look at it, 2x minus 1 and 2x plus 1 are not the same. So therefore, this function is also neither. But let's say our final answer was negative 2x minus 1. Well, in that case, it would be odd, right? Because 2x minus 1 and 2x minus 1 are the same. But in this case, it's positive, and in this case, it's negative. So in that case, it would be odd. It's just a little thing to look out for when you're working with even or odd functions. But in this case, the function is neither even or odd. So let's work on our last example. F of x equals x squared plus 2x plus 3. So this is a bit more confusing just because we have more x terms, but it's still going to be the same exact process. So I'm going to do it in both ways. I'm going to substitute a positive and negative version of a number, and I'm also going to substitute positive and negative x so you guys can see how both of those work. So let's split the screen and let's work on substituting a positive and negative number. So if we substitute positive 3, we're going to get 3 squared plus 2 times 3 plus 3. If we simplify this, we get 9 plus 6 plus 3, and that is just equal to 18. Now let's do f of negative 3. So if we do f of negative 3, we're going to get negative 3 squared plus 2 times negative 3 plus 3. If we simplify that, we will get positive 9 minus 6 plus 3. So in this case, our final answer is going to be 6. So our answer for positive 3 was 18, and our answer for negative 3 is 6. So what does that mean? The function is neither even or odd. So it's neither even or odd because we got completely different numbers. So now we know the answer, but we're going to check by doing positive and negative x as well. So let's do positive x. So our final answer is just going to be the same thing as what we already have because we're already having positive x in our question. But if we substitute negative x, we will get negative x squared plus 2 times negative x plus 3. If we simplify that, we're just going to get positive x squared because the negatives cancel, negative 2x and plus 3. So as you can see, there's no way for us to pull out a negative from this first term because the first term is positive. So now we just have to compare. Our positive x was x squared plus 2x plus 3, and our negative x is x squared minus 2x plus 3. These are completely different. Therefore, we can conclude that the function is neither even or odd because the two functions at the end are completely different. And that's all there is to even or odd functions. Make sure you comment down below any questions.